think what we're gonna do is just run through the entire script once. Don's gonna take us through it and just kind of give us like the real basics of it.
The flavor nexus looms against the dark sky, glowing, flickering, rung with neon, an island of commerce in a sea of wet blacktop. Super, October 22nd, 1954B, 3:43 a.m. That's an important note. 1954B is actually in the far, far future. Figure drops through the frame, smacks the pavement with a muddy splash, pops up, looks around. It's the director. Whenever we cut into something, he's grabbing something. It's a human hand grabbing the thing, even though the director doesn't actually have hand. The cashier reaches below her station, begins to fumble with an irrationally long row of buttons.
But she's not looking at them.
No, she's under here, and she's going. You gotta know if you're traveling through time, you're gonna mess things up. And I want to show this nice shot of her hand, kind of like we're trucking behind the hand, like OTS hand, as it's like feeling up the buttons.
So we are here at the AV factory testing our projector and mirror. Essentially what we're going to do is take a piece of mirror and set it at a 45-degree angle to a screen, bounce the projector image off of the glass onto the screen, and then from the dark side shoot through the glass with the camera and put our character in between the camera and the back screen to include his own shadow and get the front projection effect. Since a person is so much less reflective than the screen we're going to use, the screen is going to bounce the light back really high. What shows on the character is not going to be as bright, and you can light them independently of the screen, and you'll end up getting like a separately lit character, no shadow, and the backdrop. Scene 8, that's the main work at the cash register with the board cashier.
Practical world on the left, fake world on the right.
You basically want this aisle to be clear.
Correct.
The costumes for this are the 1950s, so they're all styled as such. So this right here is going to be our cashier.
20, yeah, 20 years he says. You crooked or something, mister? Say.
A little less angry?
A little less angry, more
little,
excited.
like slightly flirty, but not really.
Oh, okay.
Good deal, copy that. I'm walking over to the cast right now.
I love the idea that you try to like rest on that.
No.
Well, going. I'm like you know.
It's your birthday, mister?
Birthday's not for another 20 years.
20 years, he says. You crooked or something, mister?
I want to see this happen much faster.
Yeah.
And I want somebody over here, stationed just off of here. I need a hand. She's gonna put stuff down, and it's gonna come sliding off.
I am the ghost that ferries all of the items coming off of the conveyor belt quietly down to where they live off camera, so that they don't just clunk into an abyss and ruin the shot. So I'm not here.
Mark?
Action!
Seems like every few days one of you guys wanders in here all birthday suit. Ain't you a birthday, mister?
Birthday's not for another 20 years.
20 years, he says. You crooked or something, mister? Say, you ain't one of them inflation tourists, is ya?
Stumble, 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 and he makes his way out.
Okay, so good.
It kind of connects them. If you get a nice little shot and you don't see the face of it, it's suka. It comes up into the flat. Okay? And it's you're cutting through.
So one of the gags we're doing is, in some films or shows, they'll split the screen. They'll show two different camera shots in one frame, right? They'll put a line between them. We're going to do a gag where we're showing two shots in one frame, only we're shooting them at the same time. We're just building the one frame. And the dividing line between the frames is going to be a black 2x4. that's going to represent that line that you're used to seeing. And the way we make the black 2x4 stay in focus and to make the two shots look like different shots is we're using what's called a diopter. It's like a bifocal for the camera, and we're going to mount it vertically, which will make it look like there's one shot at one lens length and another shot at a totally different lens length with different backgrounds, but they're all going to be in one shot together that we're shooting live here. Action!
Seems like every few days one of you guys wanders in on birthday suit. It's your birthday, mister?
Close up on the director looking at the list. You have to clamp it first and then move the C-stand into place. That's fine.
You need to flip the image, obviously.
Yes.
I think this is really cool because normally we're doing green screen stuff, and this is all going to be in camera. This is kind of like the initial green screen. We have both digital and practical plates we shot on the day that we're projecting onto this front projection screen now, so we can put our puppet in front of it and film additional shots.
Action.
The process for getting my head around how we were gonna put together Jazzpunk was pretty unique. With this, because it's cartoons, we really all had to tap into our inner childhood. I spent a couple of hours and I went back and I watched Looney Tunes and Ren and Stimpy, and I watched hours of gameplay footage of Jazzpunk. I really needed to delve into that world and feel what it was like to turn the corner and see a flying fish that you've got to talk to who gives you a secret mission. Everything you do is unique and crazy, and so I knew that we really needed to push it to the next level for this spot, and every moment had to just be a burst of crazy.
This one is really fun because we're mixing like different visual effects styles and tricks from across the decades, which means, you know, we're using a little bit of green screen, we're using a bunch of front projection, which is the crazy technique they used to make Superman fly back in the day. We're using puppets, we're using digital models, and we're kind of blending everything up into this weird smorgasbord of just different styles and techniques.
We're going to be filming a bunch of assets of this puppet in front of a green screen so that we can composite him with all of the supermarket location footage we shot.
That looks so dumb, I love it.
Go on, up.
That's it. Want to do the jelly stuff? The best part of Foley is fooling yourself. Even though, like,
I know what Jamie's doing, he's right there. But when I play it against picture and I believe it, that, you know, that's the magic. That's the drug that we're always chasing. 2, 1. And then the question is, what's going on when she passes them off?
Coming back here to shop all this stuff on the cheap, and it's your future money's buying it.
We're at our friendly neighborhood thriftway here in West Seattle, about to do some guerrilla grocery cart recording. Walk up and down a few aisles, make some aggressive turns and shakes, and try to capture that sound.
This project is based a lot around a composer called Esquivel, and he's a Mexican composer, and his main body work was in the 50s and 60s. And he's responsible for a lot of the kind of retro future sounding lounge jazz pop from back in that era. And I think it's a really good fit for Project Switch Hook because the film has a lot of the same sensibilities. You know, you got these kind of retro touches on the cashier and on a lot of the set design, but at the same time it's kind of spacey and out there. So probably one of the most interesting and satisfying parts of getting to work on something like Project Switch Hook has just been the crazy amalgamation of different things I've gotten to do in such a short period. Sometimes when I'm working on a game or film soundtrack and it's got more space to breathe, it's a full soundtrack, I get to try a lot of different stuff and maybe devote a track to each idea. But this has had retro future pop, it's had vibraphones and electric pianos, it's had Latin salsa piano, it's had weird experimental arrhythmic synthesizer stuff, and it's all happening in like a 4-minute span. And that's been really, really fun to try to mash as many of these ideas as I can together into a coherent whole in as tight of a package as possible.